Good morning, everyone. And welcome as we come together to do two things. The first is to recognize Nebraska first responders who often risk their own lives while responding to roadside crises and crashes across the state. And I want to just say personally, as a county attorney and a line prosecutor for over 25 to 30 years, I was involved only on the exterior of these situations. I very often went to crash sites, often after the most important work was done by the first responders tending to people, and secondly, by those folks trying to remove the debris, the cars, the wrecks from the road. I saw firsthand how incredibly dangerous that situation is while they are performing that work. I was always astounded at the speed and the competence shown by everybody involved in those situations. I don't think you can really appreciate how difficult it is until you yourself are standing on the interstate while traffic is moving, or on one of our local highways at night during a storm, during a blizzard, when you're in your warm car and a passerby might think, well, it's pretty quick. They ought to be able to remove these vehicles, get traffic going again, get everybody to the hospital. Only if you were outside during that storm would you really, truly appreciate what a great job these people do. These responders are our neighbors, our brothers, our sisters. Many of them are volunteers who respond to the needs of others, regardless of the time of day or weather condition, and that's another point. So many volunteers involved in this to clear the crash scene and keep people moving along the major corridors of Nebraska. And we think in terms of Nebraska, but remember, I-80 is interstate from Los Angeles to New York travel. If that slows up, all of those products that are going from one coast to the other slow up as well. Our volunteers make a good portion of those responders. We want to recognize those who respond on the roadways to help manage the crisis and make our network safer. They include our law enforcement partners, tow operators, and those at Nebraska Department of Transportation who work so hard to manage the traffic. And the second point I wanted to talk about is just the continued request for help from our drivers out there. Please always remember to obey the posted signs, drive defensively, buckle up, and put the phone down. Statistically, we know that the phones are causing a real problem, a real issue out there every day, regardless of whether there's a crash scene or not. But please remember, slow down, move over, follow the directions provided by the message boards, by law enforcement, and by other traffic control items, the barrels, the cones, and the arrow boards. Follow the guided detours and remain patient while moving through a crash scene. Your life and the work and the lives of those working there depend upon that. We all know how important it is that our first responders are, and for the reasons we have talked about, declared, we know how important they are, and that's why we declare this Crash Responder Safety Week in Nebraska to recognize those who respond to the crashes and who help raise awareness about safe driving through crash scenes and on detours. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Major Wilczynski from the Nebraska State Patrol. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Good morning. We value our first responders partners tremendously. It's teamwork in these difficult crash situations that can often make the difference in saving lives. Crash Responder Safety Week is the perfect time to not only honor the men and women who respond to these difficult, tragic situations, but to refocus the motoring public on the task of keeping them safe while they're working. The Move Over law is critical for everyone who performs their job on the road. It's a simple law with a massive impact. Moving over can be a life-saving action. In the last 10 years, 150 officers across the country have been killed in move-over-related crashes, including earlier this year in Nebraska when Officer Ross Bartlett was killed while performing a traffic stop. Every one of those deaths is a tragedy and could have been prevented, but unfortunately, our troopers are seeing more and more people fail to make this simple action of moving over. This year, our troopers have already issued 122 citations for failure to move over. This is nearly double what our troopers have averaged over the past 3 years. Every one of those 122 traffic stops comes with an important conversation about keeping officers, paramedics, road crews, firefighters, and tow operators safe. It is vital to have those conversations now before another tragedy occurs. So whether it's a crash scene, a traffic stop, a tow truck picking up a vehicle, always move over and give those responders room to work safely. Thank you. And I'll turn it over now to the Chief of Police of Seward.
Thank you, Major. My name is Brian Peters. I'm the Chief of Police in Seward. I guess to bring a perspective of a smaller police agency and how these types of crashes do affect us. With the interstate running through Seward County, we run into several situations where we're either called upon to go assist with the accident scene, particularly on the interstate, or we have traffic that's routed through Seward on Highway 34. It is important to remember that crash responders are not only first responders. It's more than law enforcement, fire, rescue personnel, but it is also your tow truck drivers. It can be your road crews, either state or local. You could have any number of different groups that might be called in to assist. When we think of accidents, a smaller accident is fairly easily dealt with and rather quickly. We can go in and do what we need to do, and then get the road cleared and traffic can resume at its normal pace. When we talk about more significant accidents, multi-vehicle accidents, accidents where folks are injured or even fatality accidents, these might be situations where we need to close the interstate or close the roadway, reroute traffic. It's important for people to remember to be patient in those situations. We're never going to leave the roadway closed any longer than it absolutely needs to, because we understand we want to get the traffic moving as quickly as possible as well. So please be patient. It may seem like nothing's going on, but there could be a lot up at the scene you might not be able to see because you're far enough away. Situations we may need to clear roadway for a helicopter to come in if life flight is needed. So again, be patient. Follow the routes that you're instructed to take, whether it's a detour around the accident, maybe a lane closure, all the way up to a full road closure. It's going to take maybe a few extra minutes on your part, but it's also going to keep you safe, and it's going to keep the first responders and the crash responders safe as well. There's in our line of work, there's nothing more tragic than having one of our own get hurt or even killed as the result of a situation where we're trying to do our job and somebody's driving through, maybe not paying attention, maybe distracted, and strikes a road crew person or first responder or law enforcement officer. And those are very difficult for us to have to deal with personally as well. We have a dangerous job. We just would like people to keep that in mind and to help us out when they can. That's pretty much all I have. I'll turn this over to the director.
Thank you, Chief Peters. Thank you, Major, Lieutenant Governor. Today is really an opportunity for us to bring awareness to everything that was just said. Crash Responder Safety Week allows us the opportunity to publicly thank the tow truck drivers, the law enforcement, everyone who puts themselves in the line of danger every day to make sure that the roadways are safe. We've said it over and over again. One of the most dangerous things that our public does is operate on our roadways. And so what we ask is that those that are making sure that you're safe, should you have a flat tire, should you break down, should there be a crash, those that are going to stop the secondary and make sure that that scene is secure, make sure that we have the opportunity to respond in a timely manner, to hold those who might be responsible accountable. We've done a lot of work over the last 10 years to up our level of sophistication to clear those sites quickly. Nebraska State Patrol, their use of drones and crash responding has been absolutely amazing in terms of getting that traffic moving so that we stop those secondary pieces, those secondary accidents that could actually cause a death or a fatality, especially on I-80 where we see the rate of traffic, the rate of speed so quickly grow. So I ask that we take the opportunity to thank those that operate as tow truck drivers. They're the ones that respond in their own communities, but also the law enforcement and the Nebraska DOT. Because it's not just the response, it's also the preparing for the response and understanding that we have a responsibility to educate ourselves and our first responders. And that's what the Nebraska DOT takes very seriously. So our traffic incident management team is working closely with our partners to make sure that we can clear those roads quickly, that we can stop those secondary crashes, and that we can get traffic moving, especially in our most vulnerable populations. So thank you for the opportunity to bring attention and bring awareness, especially when Nebraska DOT, it's very personal to us. We've said over the last couple months that safety is the one thing that we care about and will talk about the most. We've lost 2 teammates over the last year, and another is still recovering at Madonna. Dave Schwartz was operating as a first responder. And so that we ask that you take it just as personally as we take it. And please, move over. It seems so simple. The law's been there since 2009, and we still see people speed right through that traffic stop. So please make sure to move over and to value the lives of others the same way that you value the lives of your families. So, Lieutenant Governor, if you don't mind, we'll have you come back up and introduce the proclamation.
I'll read some portions of the proclamation signed by Governor Pillen. Whereas the state of Nebraska is committed to effective traffic incident response, which reduces the likelihood of secondary crashes and improves the safety of motorists, crash victims, and emergency responders. And whereas crash responders play a critical role in the lives of those who drive on our highways and our roadways, our families, and our communities. And whereas National Crash Responder Safety Week provides an opportunity for the Nebraska State Patrol, the Nebraska Department of Transportation, and all emergency responders to highlight the coordinated work they accomplish. And whereas motorists are urged to remember to slow down, move over, and remain aware when approaching crash scenes or when observing emergency vehicle lighting. And whereas National Crash Responder Safety Week serves as a reminder for everyone about the critical role crash responders play in planned and coordinated efforts to respond to and clear traffic crashes as quickly as possible. And whereas Nebraska understands the importance of the motorists that our partners and our first responders make in each of us getting home safely every single night. Now therefore, I, Jim Pillen, Governor of the state of Nebraska, do hereby proclaim the week of November 18th through 22, 2024 as Crash Responder Safety Week.